Well, I'm super excited to be doing this live with you. And I'm so glad that we're going to be able to talk about, like, obviously your journey from VA to podcast manager. I'm still a virtual assistant, but I offer podcast management as a service. Not for too much longer, though, but I'm super excited to just talk about how, like, you don't have to stay as a VA, because I think too many people think that you can only become a virtual assistant and have to stay a virtual assistant, when that is not the case at all. So I'm super glad to be hosting this platform with you, and go ahead and just kind of give us a brief introduction about who you are, what you do, where they can find you.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to talk about it too, because I feel like this is one of those things that stops people from even becoming a VA because they feel like that's going to limit them. But a little bit about me. I'm Hannah Celerin. I'm now a podcast manager. I've been through many different roles, starting as a virtual assistant in the online space, an online business manager, and then I've settled in podcast management. And we'll kind of get into why, but I really wanted something that I could be known for, that I could really master and get really good at, instead of doing a bunch of different little things. But by being a virtual assistant, all those little things actually got me to where I am today, because that's how I discovered, wow, podcasting is something I enjoy consuming as a consumer. And then it's also something I was doing with virtual assistant clients, like little pieces. And I just like kind of dove in, and I love to learn. So I was learning, and I was like, there's something about podcast management that just sounds like very intriguing. So I just kind of like went for it. And now that's completely what I focus on. So I no longer do really general VA work. I like my main focus now is podcast management. So I handle everything for a podcaster, so that basically I manage the whole project. So it's really cool to go deep with a client instead of doing like a few things where I don't feel like I'm making that impact. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a little bit of gist of where I am now.
I love that, because I just feel like ever since you pivoted into being a podcast manager, you can just tell, like, just your content and just how happier you are within the role that you're in now. Not saying you weren't happy as a VA, but like you could just seriously tell that you're just more confident in yourself and your abilities and what it is that you're showing. You're showing up for yourself, and I can just tell that you just seem to be more confident and happier, and I love that. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, thank you. I honestly feel that too, because I feel like the OBM thing, like I wanted it like in my mind, but it wasn't, like my heart wasn't in it. So it was like I was forcing it. And
Yeah.
then with podcast management, it was like I kept pushing it off, like, oh, I don't want to try another new thing. But sometimes you just have to have that, faith and go for what feels right during that time. Because if I wouldn't have found podcast management. And I've gotten that compliment from so many people, but it goes to show, like, your intuition, like, what's for you. You just have to be willing
Exactly.
to trust it.
Exactly. And people can tell, if you're not passionate about your work or passionate about what it is, the offers that you're providing, people can see through that. So I really,
100%.
just because you said OBM, I love that that's going to dive us into our first like question, which is basically defining virtual assistant. And OBM is online business manager. Obviously, we're going to be using acronyms, but VA, virtual assistant, OBM, online business manager, and then we'll normally say podcast manager, because even though I know it's PM, but I never say that at all.
No, me neither.
So go ahead and kind of tell me, define what a virtual assistant is to you.
So to me, a virtual assistant is somebody that really focuses on the task. They're really given direction by the business owner. So it's more of like, kind of like you're told what to do, and then you follow the process that's already established.
Yeah.
So it's very like task oriented.
Agreed. So same thing. I would just add on that, like the same thing. They get a specific task, they do this task, and then they follow through with whatever the business owner wants them to complete. In regard to like an OBM, an online business manager, they're creating these structures and systems. Like they're creating those standard operating procedures, and they'll work through that on a specific project. So how would you define OBM? This was actually your role before, so.
Yeah, so I would say it has a lot to do with project management, also managing the team, and then strategizing. So kind of you take the big picture of the business and you break it down for the business owner. So you're no longer like the doer typically. You can do some implementation, but you're really the person that oversees the strategy with the CEO of the business and said, this is exactly what needs to be done. And then you manage the team of people doing it. So as an OBM, you usually have like a VA, maybe graphic designers, copywriters on the team that are doing the work, and you're managing to make sure that project is moving forward and the milestones are being hit.
Exactly. And then lastly, let's talk about how do you define podcast manager?
The exciting part. So podcast manager really is the way that I do it is the podcaster themselves records the episodes, uploads the episode, and I handle everything else for them. So that means editing the audio, writing their show notes for blogs to promote their podcast, creating social media graphics, helping them manage their guests, letting their guests know when the episode goes live, like all of the things that go in the behind the scenes of podcasting besides the recording, because obviously I can't record a podcast for the client, but really they get to do the fun part of recording and sharing their message with the world. And then I do all the rest, publish it to the world. And then they just promote the podcast on social media or their email list. And then like everything else that's it. It's done for them really.
Exactly. So I loved our little notes too, how we said like a virtual assistant is basically a doer, and an online business manager is a planner, and then a podcast manager is a planner and a doer because they're doing it all. So I love, if you an easier way to break those things down for you, so but I love the definitions that we provided, because it really is. I mean, people hear virtual assistant or podcast manager or online business manager, they're really like, what is that? That's a foreign language, foreign subject to me. So just to give y'all a brief overview of what we're even going to be discussing in this. So I kind of want to transition now. And I mean, I would love to hear about your virtual assistant, your whole origin story, honestly, how you went from VA to OBM to now podcast manager. I know that we're probably going to get like a shorter version than the whole synopsis, but still go ahead and share how you went from VA to online business manager to podcast manager.
So the first thing I wanted to say, which is kind of interesting, but before I got into the online space, I was actually a lash artist with a successful business. And I hired a virtual assistant from a business coaching program I was in. So that's how I even found out what a virtual assistant was, because I hired mine to help me. So from that, I took a course and I really learned the ins and outs of how to create the skills that I already have and turn them into a business online. So I thought it was so cool that you could actually pay somebody online to do these things that, yes, you can do, but once you're at a certain point, it doesn't make sense, like monetary wise, for you to do them yourself. So like emails, calendar management, anything that you could be out of to make more money in your business. Like once you're at that level, VAs can help so much and bring value. So that's where I started, because I wanted to use skills I already had so I could really get going and get money and an income. So I did a lot of virtual assisting admin work and social media when I started. Yeah. I quickly found I hated social media management. I was good at the work, but it was just one of those things you keep dreading. And so that was a sign to myself, like, okay, this isn't it. Like I kept feeling that feeling. It was the one thing I would procrastinate. I would always get my work done, but it was just one of those things that didn't feel right. And then I kept getting asked a lot of questions about like strategizing with current clients and helping them map out things and brainstorm. And the mentor that I had before, she did a role like an operations manager. And what it showed me is that was kind of like the next step from a virtual assistant, to be a little bit more higher paid, to be like more of a bird's eye view of a business versus just being the doer. And my ultimate goal going into that, I wanted less clients and I wanted to go deeper with them. Yeah. Instead of doing like admin where you're kind of like touching all the pieces, but not really going deep with anything, is kind of what my experience was. And so as I took a course for OBM, learned the skills, I came to find that OBM was a lot like the VA world in the sense that you still manage so many moving pieces. And what drew me to podcast management, number one, I love podcasts. I listen to at least one every day. And number two, it's a streamlined process that you can do the same thing and get really good at versus doing a bunch of little stuff. And I find that like the way my brain functions, I like to do the same thing over and over and get really good at it and find that mastery in it versus like being good or okay at a bunch of different things. Because as a VA, for instance, I was like helping people edit their website pages, helping build out courses, helping write blogs and emails, creating social media graphics. Whereas
because you didn't have a VA niche, sis.
Yeah. So now, yeah, exactly. So now as a podcast manager, I do everything to do with the podcast. So it's like I manage the project and implement everything. So it kind of like OBM taught me that the strategic side, and then the VA side taught me the like implementation aspect. So I can do a lot of stuff, but realizing ultimately that it comes down to what you like to do. We can all do a lot of things, but it's what you want to do and what you're good at.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I love that. No, I love your whole story. I mean, I know a little bit about it, obviously, since knowing you for a while and kind of being a part of that initial program that we were in together. But I love hearing about your story. So what made you select podcast management, though? Because you did go through all those phases. What initially made it be like, oh, podcast management is the way I want to go?
So, one of my very first clients that I got in November of 2021 was a podcast manager coach. And the role that I was doing for her, and I still work with her, is I was her marketing assistant. So basically, it's a lot of like repurposing her content, but it was all to podcast managers. So I
Okay.
kind of had like the inside scoop, and I was like constantly learning. And I was like, wow, like I love her content. I love how she teaches. And when I was learning that, like it was always in the back of my mind. And it just, I feel like life has a way of working out because I originally was on her email list to see that job posting because I was interested back in November to be a podcast manager. But I was like, no, not yet, not right now. And then I got that job and I've been consistently working with her. So I've been exposed to it like little by little. And then I applied, got that. And I don't know, like I kept wondering, I kept asking myself the question, like, what do you enjoy? What do you like? And it
Yeah.
kept, podcast was like the simplest thing to get paid to listen to podcast. Like it just seems like a dream. So I feel like those two things.
Look, and I can't stop saying this, but look how like you light up when you're talking about it, you know? You're lighting
Yeah.
up so much when you talk about podcast management, and I think that's how I feel about virtual assistant. So I do want to say though too, just so well, first, thank you for everybody that's here. I'm saying hi to y'all. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for the comments. I don't think you can see them, Hannah, but they're over here giving us a lot of love, saying nice to see the collaboration. We've got some heart faces, and just a lot of people are showing up for us. So first, thank you. I see y'all. Thank you for showing up. I do want to point out, though, I am a virtual assistant. However, I do offer podcast management as a service. So don't think that like you have to fully transition into being a podcast manager. If that's something that you want to do, just like Hannah said, whatever is really feeding your soul and the skills that you enjoy doing, then go that route. But know that you can start off as a VA and you can transition into this route, and or you can be a VA and still just offer podcast management as a service, because that is something that I do as well. Just want to point that out so you know that there's many different avenues that you can go once joining the VA world. And as you continue to pivot, you can pivot not one time, two times, three times. You can pivot as many times as you want, just like Hannah and I have. So I love that for us. I definitely enjoy hearing your story and sharing it with everybody. So I do kind of want to segue back into being a virtual assistant and the benefits of doing so, because that is where you started. That's what kind of got you amped in to, you know, to finally figure out what that niche is that you wanted to do. So how, I know that you said that you focused on the skills that actually like you enjoy doing, but what are some other ways that podcast management came to fruition for you, and or just in your virtual assistant journey, like the skills that you offered prior to podcast management, the skills you offered as a VA and or as an online business manager? Was it the same way? Was it something, oh, you liked it, you felt it, this is something you wanted to offer, or it was like, oh, you're just, these are things that people do in these businesses, so I'm going to offer these services? Kind of share how you did that.
So, number one, being a virtual assistant, I feel like it's the most valuable way to start in the online space because you really get to like give yourself the time and the experience just to try things. A lot of times when you're a virtual assistant, your clients will be like, oh, will you try to do this? So I learned how to create email campaigns. I learned how to like run social media accounts, like everything, create courses, just literally everything you could think of, I've probably done. But that's because I was a VA and I was open minded. So I wasn't like, oh no, I don't know how to do that. I'm a very resourceful person that loves to learn. So when somebody brings something to me, I'm like, yeah, I could probably figure that out. And then, or I'm not sure of the answer yet, but let me see if I can get that answer or figure it out. I use my resources from courses or obviously, you know, Google, YouTube. Like there's a lot of things I can learn and have time to learn that my clients are at a level they don't have 45 minutes to spend figuring out how to create an email signature for their Google account, like stuff like that. So really just, I guess, being open-minded and being willing to learn is the best thing about being a VA, because it allowed me to learn all those skills that now as a podcast manager, I do create social media graphics. I do help my clients promote their podcasts. So all of those things are little nuggets of what I've learned. Same thing with writing like show notes and blogs and stuff for podcasts. I
Yeah.
did a lot of that with email copy and writing blogs and stuff as a VA. So really like everything I learned, like I honestly feel like it's that natural trajectory of the things you learn and the skills you pick up. Like that leads you to where you're supposed to be, and it also prepares you.
Yeah.
Because if I would have started as a podcast manager, like originally instead of a virtual assistant, I also wouldn't have had my business established, my systems. I wouldn't have known that I liked podcast management more than social media or admin because I wouldn't have tried it. So I feel like the biggest benefit of being a virtual assistant is like experimenting,
Yeah.
taking the
I love
skills you
that.
already have, like, because you won't know.
Yeah. I love that. I love how like you're focused on being resourceful. That's basically what being a VA has kind of like instilled in me as well, is
Hmm.
being resourceful, is being open to learning these new resources, these new platforms, these new experiences, learning how to navigate them so that you can better assist your clients. And also while doing that, you're better able to learn what it is that you actually enjoy doing. From there, you can pivot further into doing more things. So that's why I love how you said like being a VA provided you and gave you all those skills for you to even figure out what it is that you wanted.
Yeah, and I feel like it also, you good?
I need to do better. I need to just turn it off. I have an alarm that goes off at 111 and it's
Oh,
like
okay.
you're going to hit consistent money months. So it went off at 111 and I stopped it, but it
Yeah.
just snoozed, so it went off again. So I need to like
Okay.
turn it off completely cuz it is
No, no,
interfering
no.
with
You
us.
gotta leave that on. This is fine.
I know, but seriously, I need to pick a different time then because it keeps doing it when I'm on live, and I don't like that.
Yep.
But yeah, I love that you said that, and it's definitely something that I can relate to as well because I've been able to pivot as a VA coach in that manner. I mean, I went from VA to offering social media management, podcast management, and now being able to fully step into being a virtual assistant coach. So I'm grateful for the opportunities that it has present. So I do want to talk more about like the benefits of being a podcast manager and or having those specialty services.
So, really, the benefits of being a podcast manager, like I said a little bit earlier, is that I get to focus on like one thing and really master it.
Yeah.
And it's basically like I get to manage the whole podcast project. So it really takes off the fix your sound issue. That's funny. But it really gets to take that pressure off the business owner because podcasts are so powerful to getting your message out there and, really developing a deeper audience. But there's a lot that goes into podcasting. Like just editing podcasts can take 4 times the length of an episode. So as a business owner, you don't have 4 hours to edit one episode a week and write a blog and do all of these things. So honestly, it's really the value for the client. Like you are so much more valuable because they don't need to check in with you. You do it just like an OBM would. Like
Yeah.
it's your baby and you handle it for them and treat it like it's your business. And then you could also charge more for it because of that, because as a podcast manager, it is a specialty skill. I'm not just learning, I'm more at an expert level. Whereas I'm not just doing things you tell me to do. I have the strategy and plan and the map of how to do it well. And then you don't even have to use brain power to like think and tell me what to do. I do that and I just need you to record the episodes.
Yeah.
So it's like I guess it's very valuable because it goes so deep into that one aspect. And not many people know a lot about podcasting either. So there's
Yeah.
kind of like a couple sides.
I definitely agree. I mean, even though podcasting is not like I think it really, I mean, it's not new, but I really think it came to fruition for more people during the pandemic, obviously, just like how entrepreneurship became a
Mm-hmm.
big thing as well during the pandemic, which, it's, I always say that it's so sad. Like, obviously, all the people that lost their life to COVID, and it's such a horrible situation. Like, still can't believe that was a reality. But I'm also grateful that it happened because I think a lot of people finally took that leap on themselves to invest in themselves and to create a life that they actually love. I mean, the market is so much higher in regard to like entrepreneurs rather than it was years ago. Like many people don't even want to go back to that corporate lifestyle because they're creating that life themselves and making more income ever working for themselves rather than working for someone else's dreams. So I think that's so important too when you talk about like picking a specialty service, because as a VA, you can pivot again, as we said numerous times, to multiple different avenues. And when you actually pivot to these avenues, you're picking a specialty service, which then allows you to not only make more of a bigger impact with your client, but it also allows you to get paid what you desire and what you deserve because you're offering this skill. And like Hannah, like you said, they don't have to come check in on you. You already have the standard operating procedures of how your podcast management workflow is going to happen. Same thing if you were a social media manager, you already have the processes in place of how the workflow will happen. So it's like your client just really needs to briefly, I mean, they don't have to at all, but they can check in like, are you doing all right? But they already know that it's going to get done because you already have these systems and structures in place, which is so good about offering specialty services.
Yeah, and I feel like that's too, like you have the kickoff call, you get the plan established, and then it's really just following the plan. And it's honestly more me making sure the client stays on track versus the client having to like handle like an employee as a virtual assistant where
Exactly.
you're having to assign tasks weekly and stuff. Like you do
Exactly.
your part, you record the episode, and then you're good.
Yeah. But look, you always learn all those things from being a VA though.
Yes,
It may
100%.
it may, be unfortunate, or it may feel as though it sucks to have to get these skills get your task weekly. And or honestly, it really depends on how you operate with your client, because I know with my clients, I'm not getting tasked weekly. They may add something that they want me to do, but these are all things that have to be discussed again within that contract, because you want to be mindful that you're not, spreading yourself thin or doing things that weren't initially agreed upon. So VA world is what got us here, and I will never discredit it. So grateful
No.
for the opportunities and the education it's helped, but niching down is what's so
Yeah.
important.
I was going to say too, what you said about like the virtual assistant thing and learning and stuff, it teaches you everything, but also like you said, it's really whatever business you go into, the biggest thing is having boundaries, knowing like what services you offer, being open-minded, but also like don't overdo it and do too much. So like for me, when I very first started, I didn't care if I was doing email, social media or what, because I wanted to learn. So I was like a
Right.
little sponge. But as you figure out, okay, like if let's say you hate social media, I know that's like a no for me. I'm no longer, I guess if my client asks, unfortunately, that's not something that's offered in my wheelhouse. So
Yeah.
like learning and honoring that as you do learn what you do like and don't, I feel like that's super beneficial. But like you said, that comes down to the business side of being a VA and establishing boundaries. Okay, this is what's included in your services and this is what's not. But I feel like
Exactly.
I didn't know that until I experienced it and I was like, okay, like this is not it.
Yeah,
So,
same here. Same,
yep,
like, girl, I didn't know that either until I literally say this all the time. Like, it comes as you do.
yep,
Confidence comes as you do. Learning and growing and evolving in your business comes as you show up for yourself. And that's exactly what happened with you and I. The more that we worked with clients, the more we were able to determine, oh, this is what I love and this is what I don't love.
yep,
And just being able to really hone in on those boundaries. Because again, I'm just like you. Like, I was just doing whatever. Well, not whatever, but I was doing a plethora of things, where now it's like, I only do these set things. And
mm-hmm,
eventually, again, pivoting again. That's the best thing about being a business owner. We can continue to pivot. We continue to change our services. And also, just to kind of go back to what you said, where you're like, if a client asks you if you do social media management and you're like, no, but down the road, that could be something that we outsource. You get your own team and then you outsource
yep.
it to one of your team members. So there's just so many different avenues or routes to go when becoming a virtual assistant, because it really allows you to learn all these skills to be able to hone in on a specialty service, and or eventually grow into an agency, have a team, and outsource other services that you probably hate yourself, or I hate myself, but you can give it to somebody who actually enjoys it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think
And you
that's
know
the
how to do
awesome.
it. So
Yes,
you could give the game plan and you're not wondering how it's supposed to be done.
exactly. And the client
Yes.
would never know that it was outsourced, because it's still something
To your
within your
standards.
business. Yes,
Yep.
exactly. So I think that brings us right down to our next question, is like, so what does it mean to niche down? Like, what is niching down to you? And we'll go to the next bullets after that.
Okay. So niching down to me really picks like one thing that you're specialized in and one thing that you're known for. So
Yeah.
like for me now, going from VA to OBM to podcast manager, like now I'm Hannah, I'm the podcast manager. So like that's my niche. So people know what I do and who I help. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's really what niching means, like what you do in your business that people know you for.
Agreed. And it's all about becoming known as the expert in that field.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be seen as being an expert. When you're doing too many different things, people are like, yeah, that's amazing, but they're not looking at you as an expert for any of those things. They're just like, oh, she does this, this, and this. But when you do that one thing, you're now viewed as, oh, they are an expert in that field, because that is their main focus. That is what that's what they're doing on a regular day basis. That's what they're promoting. That's what their business is about. So that they have those skills and the areas of expertise to actually focus on that niche, because that's all they are. You want to be known. You want to take over. You want to dominate that niche, because that's what it's all about. And the market is not saturated. Period.
There's so many people in this world. The other thing you said too is which obviously there's a time and a place for everything. Like for me, I kind of marketed everything when I was a virtual assistant, like I can do it all, come
Yeah.
and see me, and so I could learn. But you also like it also makes it harder to market, like you dilute your message. So
Yeah.
people are like, oh, she does email, I don't need email right now, and then they see, oh, she does this, and it's like when you decide and you get clear on what you like and want to do, like now, if you go to my page, like I'm talking about podcast management, and that's
Yeah.
like it. So it even makes it clearer for your audience, but also clearer for you. You
Yes.
know what you're talking about and you know who you're talking to. So that's
Exactly.
another part with your marketing.
Exactly. And that's why it's so like I do want to harp on the fact that it's okay to pivot, because again, even just a month ago, I still shared that I was doing social media management and podcast management. But in the next month, I'm doing away with that. Everything is going to be coaching offers because I fully only want to step into this avenue of being a virtual assistant coach. I'm grateful for the people that I've helped thus far. And just like how you pivoted to, and now everything will only be about podcast management. So like it doesn't hurt to change and grow at all. Like it's actually perfect for yourself and your business because you're doing things that you love. You're showing up for yourself in ways that you love, which means that you're going to show up for your clients and the people that are coming to your page, your supporters. You're going to be showing up for them authentically because you're actually doing work that you enjoy. And that again is what being a business owner is all about. We want to do stuff that we love. We want to make an impact doing stuff that you love. And you can't make an impact if you're doing stuff that you hate at all. So when do you think is the right time to niche down? Is there a right time?
Honestly, no, because like I just feel like everybody's different, and it really comes down to, I feel like number one is like where do you come from? What's your background? How much does that translate into the online space? If you're doing like bookkeeping at a business, you can do bookkeeping online and it's like a smooth transition. But for me, I was a lash artist, so I had a lot of customer service skills. I had entrepreneur experience, but I didn't really have a lot of like admin experience beyond doing my own business stuff. So I feel like it kind of depends on where you come from and when you feel ready. When you actually, come to that place where you find that thing. You might be a VA for 2 months and, be doing email as part of your VA work and be like, I love email marketing. You're done. You found your thing right now.
Yeah.
So you can, niche down. But like for me, it took me, I started my business in like October of last year and it's July and I'm just now figuring it out. So like I was still pivoting in that process and like trying to find my niche, but I didn't know until I found it. Like, so I feel like it's kind of very organic and unique to each person.
I agree completely. I think there is no right time. I love how you just said that. It is organic and unique to each person. Because that is exactly what it is. I mean, same for me. I launched Elite VA Services January of 2021. I was a VA this entire time. I just pivoted a year and a half later into becoming a virtual assistant coach. And I believe 8 months in is when I actually started like focusing on social media management and podcast management as services I was offering. So it is truly unique to everyone's circumstance, but you'll know what you enjoy to do. What feels right to you. I always say like what truly is feeding your soul is what it is that you need to stick to, because that's the thing that you're going to wake up every morning happy to do. We're not here to wake up and be unhappy with the job that we created for ourselves. That would be so stupid. You could go back to corporate for that. Seriously. So it's like, it's so important to really do what you love, and don't think like you can pivot 100 times. Who's here there's no pivot police.
Nope. I was going to say too, one thing, which is kind of like the polar opposite of what you said in one part. Like you said, you'll know when you find like what lights your soul on fire.
Yeah.
For me, I was kind of the opposite. I kept finding what didn't.
Oh.
What didn't find it. So like I was like, this isn't it. This isn't it. So like allowing myself to pivot was huge, but also recognizing that sometimes you try things and realize it's not for you.
Yeah.
So also be open to that. Like if you find what you like and you like stick with it. But for me, I'm like, okay, like I really don't like this. And then, okay, I'm forcing myself to do it. What does this mean? And like really like listening to yourself, because like I could do social media, like I could still be doing it and making great money just with that. But I just had that feeling like same thing. You're got into business to do something you enjoy. What are you doing? Like pivot. Yeah. So being open to pivot and recognizing what you like and then also like what you don't like.
Exactly. I love that. I love that you were seeing things that you didn't like though, because it was letting you know that this is not it. You tried it, you knew that this was not it. So on to the next step, tried it again. This wasn't it. And sometimes you could love something in the beginning. Like I loved social media management in the beginning. I love it for myself. It's not necessarily something that I love doing for my clients. So it's like something that you enjoyed in the beginning may not be the same things that you enjoy later on, because again, we're all human. We're all evolving and growing. We're not the same person we were a year ago. Some of us are not even the same person we were a week ago. So it's like same thing with our interests and the things that we enjoy doing.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
And I think that we answered this question though. Is it necessary to niche? I think so.
I mean, eventually, yes, but not right away.
Oh yeah, not right away, but eventually, of course. I think it's so important to eventually find what it is that you do, because you want to position yourself as an expert. But when you first start out, of course, it's not necessary to do it immediately. Trial and error, Go with the flow,
Experiment.
figure it out. Yes, experiment. Love it. So, what are some mindset challenges that you've come across? I think we kind of touched on this ago, but let's kind of go deeper. But what are some mindset challenges that you've experienced when selecting a niche? And I love it because I love that you've experienced the three different types of, VA, OBM to podcast manager, because you just have a unique experience on sharing that. So, what's your insight?
So mindset challenges number one is, if I niche, am I gonna lose money? If I niche, am I gonna limit my audience or my offer so much that I'm not gonna attract the right people? But what I found is kind of what we spoke about earlier. When you establish what you do and who you do it for, it becomes so much easier to market and so much easier for people to understand what you do and who you do it for. So if somebody's a female coach with a podcast that needs support, like, they know that I am the podcast manager for coaches. So like, it makes that easier. But beyond like that part of being scared to niche because like I wouldn't have the right audience or enough people, it was really like a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
But the other thing is um, not being afraid to niche, like not being afraid to niche and pivot. Like for me to switch from VA to OBM, and then even when I was like, okay, OBM's not it, like, really, Hannah, we're gonna do this again. But it's like, you know what's right and you know this isn't it. So why are you forcing it? Because then you don't bring, like, you just, like you said, when I talk about podcasting, I'm so much more excited. And if people can see that on social media when I market versus when I'm talking about OBM, I'm like not excited. Like, that just shows people can see that.
Yeah.
So like, also realizing that like forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do is shown like through everything that you do. So by not realizing that till after, like looking back, knowing that when you feel like you want to pivot, like, you just have to trust yourself, because your mindset, like fear, our body's wired to make us scared to change, basically.
Yeah.
Like, to keep us safe. And it's like, do you want to be safe and miserable, or do you want to have faith, trust the process, and take the next step? For me, I was like, I'm tired of being stuck and miserable. I've done that so many times. Like, I'm not doing it again. I'm pivoting, and I'm going to do what's right for me, because not only that it feels good to me, but I can serve people better when I'm doing something that I like and I'm excited about.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the whole shebang.
No, look, everything you said, I agree with, because it all comes back down to that imposter syndrome. I mean, we can talk about this all day, 24/7. Like, it really is preventing people from living their best life, because they're allowing this fear, this self-doubt, this negative self-talk to really hold them back and makes them miss these opportunities that they are more than capable of achieving, more than capable of being a part of, more than capable of actually doing. But they let this inner voice that is not even them. It's this inner voice that, the mind can play tricks on you, seriously. I mean, have you ever like driven home and then all of a sudden you get home and you're like, wow, how the hell did I even get here? Like, I
Yep.
wasn't even paying attention, because you're in your mind, you're having this full-blown conversation. It'll literally have a full-blown conversation with itself if you allow it to. And that is fear. That is fear. That is negative self-talk. That is that doubt seeping in to try to prevent you from achieving the life that you desire, because it's this little voice that can stop you. And are you going to let that little voice that is not even you? It's not even a part of you. It's just something that you've been, subjective to telling yourself, and or based on the company you keep, your support system, the people you have around me, the things that you're reading, the things that you're, looking at on a regular day basis, they subconsciously get in your mind to make you sometimes not believe in yourself. And the hardest part about that is fighting through it, because fighting through that fear is when you start to see the results. It's like getting through it. I mean, I can't speak, hey girl, I can't, speak for you, Hannah, but I know even myself, even now doing the things that I love, I still have fear. It's not like it goes away.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like what you said too is like the negative thoughts and like that negative thought like loop in your head. Like, first step is like recognizing like, okay, like, what is going on? Like, why am I spiraling today? And like switching that to like something different. So instead of I'm scared, I don't want to take action, like, what is one little step that I can take today?
Yeah.
Like, one little step. So like, it like basically like makes the fear invalid, because if I can take one step, message one person about my offer, if I can post one reel on Instagram, if I can, learn my skills a little bit better, like one little thing. And that shows you, like, I feel like the cure to fear is action.
Yes.
Like taking action, because it proves to yourself like, yes, I can do that. Yes, I'm capable of being a podcast manager. Like, you're capable of being a virtual assistant if you've never done anything else before.
Yeah.
Like, you have to believe it. And then once those thoughts come, you just have to reframe it, because like you said, we're both successful business owners, and like, I still have those thoughts every day, but it's a matter of like, we're not doing this. Like, we're not doing this. Like, I know that I'm
Exactly.
capable. Yep.
I love that. You need to make that a quote that you share. The cure to fear is action.
Oh, I
I
like
love
that.
that. That's what you just said, girl.
Yeah.
Those are your words. But I love that because it seriously is. And
Writing it down.
look, make that. I'll see that post, girl. Reshare, because that is seriously the cure to fear is taking action. The cure to imposter syndrome, the cure to all of that is taking action. You have to take action, and you have to take those leaps. I always say this too, that like, have you ever heard of somebody taking a leap of faith and it not working out in their favor? Like, I can't even name one person, or I've never heard of anyone actually taking that leap on themselves and it not working out. It works out every single time. It's
It's
just
so true.
getting
And
to that
then,
point.
yeah, and then the other thing too is sometimes, like, for me, like, the leap of faith doesn't turn out like what you thought, but it
Yeah.
turns out so much better. Because
Yeah.
even like, I had a regular job as a manager at a grocery store before I took the leap to be a lash artist and just go and start my own business. And like, logically, like, there was no reason for me to make that decision. Like, I don't like beauty and stuff, but it took me there. And then I thought that was my plan. Like, that was forever. And then I got to that point where I was like, okay, like, this isn't it. This isn't fulfilling me. What's next? And then that's
Yeah.
brought me to VA. So it's like, the leap you take may not be your end place, but it's that part of your journey that's going to lead you to where you're supposed to be.
Oh, I love it. You
Like,
are like, look, you
so
are on it
important.
right now. That journey is so important. I think so too often people, they're so focused on the end result that they forget to enjoy the journey and enjoy the process. But this is
Yes.
where you have to enjoy it, because these are the moments that literally are building that foundation. People forget about enjoying the journey and the process,
Yes,
period.
exactly.
And that's what it's all about. You need to enjoy the journey. You need to enjoy this process, because this is what's these foundational steps you're taking right now, the work that you're putting in right now, is what your future self, it's helping that end result. Whether you pivot a million times, just enjoy it right now, because that's what it's all about. You have to believe in yourself. You have to take these leaps.
Yep. Because you never know. Like, you never know what that one, let me try this one thing, what it will lead to. You
Yeah,
just got to trust the process.
exactly. So I want to, so two things I want you to share. We're both going to share our own, but what is your favorite or best piece of advice that you could give to virtual assistants? And then I also want you to give one to podcast managers.
Okay. Definitely these kind of like apply to both, but for anybody, you always have to start before you're ready, because you're never going to be 100% ready for any step you take. Even if you do all the preparation, you get your beautiful website up and stuff, like, you just have to take the first step. And like we talked about, like, the best like way to cure fear is by taking action. So take a step, figure out what baby step you can take that you're okay with taking to get started, because you're going to have to keep taking those baby steps every level you get to, every new position, every time you grow. Like, it never goes away. You just get better at walking through that fear and taking that next step. For VA specifically, my biggest advice is experiment, be open, be resourceful, be willing to learn things that you don't know yet. And for podcast managers, my biggest advice is to be around a community of supportive other podcast managers that are above where you are or have been doing it, that understand different things you might experience, and also be willing to really master those skills and get really good at them. You don't have to be great at the skills to start, but you have to be one step ahead of the people you're helping, and always constantly developing and being open to learning as the industry changes. Like, podcasting changes all the time. So being willing to stay up to date to help your clients with the most up to date information is like the best thing that you can do as a podcast manager.
Love that. Love that. My advice for both would be, what you think, feel, and believe will become your reality. Seriously. So if you're always thinking negative, negative will be the results that you get. If you're always feeling like you can't achieve the results or the life that you desire, the universe is going to give you exactly that. So it's time, like Hannah said, it's time to take action. You have to, the cure of fear, the cure of fear is to take action. And I truly believe that, like, you have to fight through that fear. You have to be willing to invest in yourself. You have to be willing to take these leaps. And I think the best leaps always come when you're super scared, when you don't know what the result is going to be, when you don't know what's on the other side. But the minute that you take it, I guarantee you there's going to be a way. God's going to find a way for you to achieve whatever it is that you desire, but you just have to be willing to trust in him and trust in yourself and just take that first step.
Yeah, and like to add to that, I feel like that's one of the things, like usually the scariest thing or the thing that you have so much fear and like hesitancy towards is usually the thing that is what you need to do most, because that's going to open the doors, or just it's going to do something, because there's the fear's there for a reason. It's trying to stop you and hold you back. But once you push back that, and you also build the resilience of showing yourself that you can do it beyond just finding that next thing. But I feel like that's the biggest thing you get from taking a leap, like we spoke about earlier. It sometimes isn't about like getting to that place you thought you were going. It's like learning with yourself and being confident enough to know that you can do anything you set your mind to. And once you take that step, it like unfolds. And it could just be how much you grow as a person, not even just the business move. Because in fear in life too, like everything we do, it's not just business, like all of these concepts, like in your life, if you want to reach a personal goal, you have to take action, even when it's uncomfortable.
Exactly. And that's why mindset is first. Everything else will follow, because it truly is. I mean, yeah, we're talking about business, but it's all about your personal being. At the end of the day, we're all humans figuring it out. We're all, you know, investing in ourselves and taking the steps to become the best versions of ourselves that we want to be. And that's truly what it's all about. So yeah, you are so right with the fact that it's not just about business. It's about yourself being a human.
Yep.
Because, you know, we are humans.
And that's another thing. What's it called? Touching on that too is taking care of yourself. As an advice to any like virtual assistant, podcast manager, like make sure to pour into yourself, because like we've talked about in the last live and this one is, it's all about like how we show up. And if you don't show up for yourself, you can't show up for your people.
Exactly. Like take those breaks, go outside, walk, you know, I mean, you love to walk our dogs outside, get some fresh air, because those are the things that are going to like revitalize you. Sometimes you may be feeling very stagnant or don't have any ideas. You're just feeling really like, because you've been sitting in front of your computer all day. Like go outside, put your feet in the grass, smell some fresh air, get some sun. Like these are the things that are going to revitalize you to come back and feel more energized. And, or even if you just want to take a break, take a day off, you know, like I think too often, so many of us are still, even now, not being in the 9-to-5 grind. Now we're in the entrepreneurship grind. You know, sometimes it's so easy to get sucked up in that, thinking, oh, what's next? I got to pivot. I got to do my next offer. I got to show up. Yeah. But it's like, it's so important to take care of ourselves, like you said, because we have to show up for our clients. And the only way that we're going to give our clients and our supporters the best version of us is if we take care of ourselves. So
100%.
But that also leads us into why it's so important in investing in like a virtual assistant and or a podcast manager. So I do want you to share how everyone can work with you. Give us your spiel, your links, and all of that good stuff.
Okay, so as a podcast manager, I offer two offers. So people with already an existing podcast, I offer online support, ongoing management. So basically, I handle everything month to month. And then for people that want to start a podcast, I help them get their podcast launched in 6 weeks, and then I can manage it going forward. So to find all the information, my link in bio will give you a link to my service guide. Talks about the services I offer, about the people I help, and then how you can work with me. So you can find that information on my Instagram, which is just at Hannah Celerin.
Yes, love it. Be sure to go follow Hannah right now for all things podcast management and mindset, because she's got it seriously. And then, you know, if you want to start your own virtual assistant business, I have my program, my 12-week program, via the Elite Way. It'll teach you how to become a virtual assistant business owner, as well as teach you how to optimize social media management and navigate those strategies through my signature framework, the Vault Marketing Method. So all that information is also linked in my bio. Hannah, it was so awesome talking to you today. God willing, the first one saved, and I'm just going to post both of them on my page, because that's, you know, technology happens. I'm so glad that y'all were here with us, and anyone who showed back up to be a part of this second one, thank you. But it's been such an honor to share this platform with you. So glad to like learn more about your experience, your journey, and just I really love your mindset. Phenomenal.
Thank you. I'm working on it.
Yo, girl, we're all working on it. Yes. It's all a work in progress, but I mean, that's what it's about, you know. We're working on ourselves to continue to be the best versions of ourselves. So
exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing this platform with me, and hopefully we'll do a lot more.
Yes. Have a good day. Okay. Bye, guys.
Same to you. Bye.